is can an exposure to a certain allergen or irritant trigger an allergic reaction or the development of allergic reactions to other allergies? And I don't know of any research that's proven that. It may have been coincidental that after you had poison ivy, you then developed allergy to other things. But I don't know the answer to that.
Well, just not answering your question directly, because again, I don't think there's any evidence that one thing would cause you to develop an entire cascade among other things. But possibly as interesting a question is cross-reactivity between things that you might not ordinarily assume. For example, I had a kid a few months ago who came in and was developing a rash around his mouth from eating cashews. And so that's not a typical food allergy like you have a serious allergic reaction like maybe to the peanut allergies. But many people may not know that cashew is in the same family as the poison ivy plants. And so some people who are very allergic to poison ivy can develop a contact dermatitis to eating cashews. And in the same way, there have been some really bizarre and interesting things Janet may have some comment about. For example, some of the proteins in dust mites may be shared in shellfish, and a lot of bizarre things that seem to be preserved through evolutionary times that wouldn't seem to make sense. So I think there are chances that developing allergy to one thing might have cross-reactivities or predispose you to having reactions to other things, but not as varied as poison ivy and developing cat allergy as far as I'm aware.
I think also I would ask about your patient and whether that kid is allergic to peaches, because I think peaches and mangoes and cashews, that there are some similar maybe proteins.
So what you all are kind of alluding to, I mean, one of the things that happens is something called pollen food syndrome also, or it used to be called oral allergy syndrome, where proteins that are present in pollens are structurally similar to proteins that are in foods. So, for instance, birch tree and apple is a very common combination for someone who has birch tree pollen allergy. If they eat fresh apples, they may experience some itching in their mouth because their body kind of gets tricked into thinking that they're being exposed to that pollen because there's such a similarity in the structure of the proteins. And there are a whole host of foods that have relatives or cousins that are part of the plant family. So if you have itchy mouth with certain fresh fruits, it may be because you have a really strong pollen allergy. And most of the time you can get around that by just cooking the food. So for that person that can't eat a fresh apple, they have absolutely no trouble eating an apple pie because the apple has been cooked and the protein is broken down.
Can I give another
Sure.
bizarre example just while we're talking about this? I had a lady who saw me initially for the first time about a reaction she had at a Christmas party, and someone had brought a dessert and had kiwi in it, and kiwi is not a food that most of us eat on a regular and consistent basis, but she had a very strong history of reacting to the kiwi. Later on she came, and of course we talked to her about what to do about that to avoid the kiwi and other similar foods. But later on she came back and said that she had gone to her hairstylist and had a coloring put in her hair and had a severe reaction to that. And we got the label of the hair coloring, and it contained a latex product, and there is cross-reactivity between latex and kiwi and some of the other fruits. And so sometimes it can be very bizarre sounding, but can have a legitimate biological basis for having reactions to two distinctly different things.